Last warning, if you do not get your $21,900 in health benefits this week.
Concerns are growing tonight over a deadly fungus that's been spreading across the U.S.
And there have been confirmed cases here in our area. Fox 5's Sharon Crowley live in the newsroom with what we need to know. Sharon.
Yeah, Stephen, Teresa, this new health threat poses a significant danger to people with weakened immune systems who are living in nursing homes. The alert coming because the CDC is reporting an increasing numbers of these types of cases, potentially a deadly fungus in half of the country, including right here in New York. It's hard to detect and even harder to treat. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention calling a deadly fungus an urgent public health threat. Candida auris can cause severe illness in people with weakened immune systems. What's worse, it's resistant to treatment and cases are rising at a steady rate.
What's most concerning, what the CDC is most concerned about, is really the increase in multi-drug resistant forms of this fungus.
Dr. Stephanie Silvera is an epidemiologist and a professor at the Department of Public Health at Montclair State University. She says people living in nursing homes and in hospitals long term are at the greatest risk.
What we really need to be aware of is that individuals who are immunocompromised, who are already at risk when they go into a hospital setting, they need to be taken care of. And so we need to do our best. Right now, the best thing we can do is what we do for pretty much any other infectious disease that we've been dealing with, which is washing our hands and being very mindful of who we come in contact with.
The fungus is hard to detect and has shown to be resistant to a number of drugs. While the threat to healthy people in the general public is still low, the infection could spread quickly in healthcare facilities like nursing homes.
We are seeing this mostly in healthcare settings, that is, people who may have been in a healthcare facility, nursing home, et cetera, for a long period of time. Those who might have catheters or IV lines or things like that tend to be at highest risk, along with those with a weakened immune system.
And the New York State Health Department has seen about 1,500 cases here in New York State. The state health officials are now requiring staff at all hospitals and nursing homes here in New York City to participate in enhanced infection prevention and control education as they watch what happens here.
Here they go with this shit again. Play another video. Just want to say shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai Bashim Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noise in the gospel of God, lifting up the standard of Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is just another lesson through the Spirit. More pestilence, more famines, more judgment upon Babylon the Great. We know that the Most High himself, through his son Yahweh Shai, via the angels, is using these plagues via the so-called white man to break down Babylon's infrastructure. Now, you ask yourself this, it don't even you could tell that they're really just blowing smoke up people's asses, because you could tell that they're just so insincere. Like when you able to see through the folly and the madness that these devils, these Edomites are doing with this MEDICAL system, it's a fucking joke. Like Keisha got on there and you could tell they just gave her a script to read. Like, her facts wasn't even straight. She didn't even seem a bit of concern. And you could just tell it was just like they're blowing smoke up people's asses, because how the hell is this spreading to people that's allegedly in healthcare facilities that's supposed to be taken care of? See, when you ask these particular questions and you start putting two to two together, you start seeing that this is a bigger agenda than that of a health crisis. Okay, though pestilence and famines and diseases and outbreaks will be prevalent in the times we're living in, because the scriptures specifically speaks about that. We do know that a lot of these things are man-made through the left-hand side, through Esau, Edom. And we know that he's trying his best to bring in that new world order. Okay, but a little history on Candida fungus. This has been around for a while. Now, what happens is with these diseases, they put them out there among the populace, and then they revamp them, they patent them, and then they bring them back within stronger means, so to speak, like the C19, right? Or a corona, so to speak. That's basically like a common cold, okay? Basically a COMMON, COLD. But what they do is with these particular pestilence, they take them and then they bring them into these facilities, these laboratories, and then they experiment, and then they release a stronger dosage. So it's the same thing with this, okay? Because if anybody ever heard of topical fungus or tropical funguses or topical funguses such as It's called tinea viris color, which basically is an overgrowth of yeast on the skin, okay, depending on diet or if you're allergic to yeast or bread or any particular dairy products, or depending on the environment you live in, like hot and moist climates, you're at risk for catching what they call tinea viris color, which basically the skin or the pigment of the skin, it kind of inverts itself, okay, and majority of Jakes suffer from that, okay. I even have it's basically we call it a tropical rash. I get it when it gets hot or I'm humid or my immune system is out of whack for whatever reason, or if I'm eating something I'm allergic to, but it doesn't itch. But what happens is they prescribe you like this antifungal cream, like a foot jock. It's kind of like, it's basically like what you call not a ringworm, but it's basically athlete's foot. They use the same cream for athlete's foot to treat this, or you can use what they call Selsun Blue, which you can put on your body 14 days and then it goes away. It kills it at the surface. And overall, your immune system flushes it out, okay? So it is a cure for everything. I mean, don't let them lie and say, oh, there's no cure for this shit. It's a cure for everything, because with any particular fungus or anything like that, with fungus grows, it spreads. You got to starve it at a source, because a lot of funguses thrive off sugars in your blood or in your body, like processed sugars in certain foods. So going on a particular fast, or eating bitter herbs and bitter roots and so forth and leafy greens, that'll kill its shit at its track. I mean, it's really all diet wise. It'll kill it at a source. Like the way to kill off cancer is basically to starve it out, because we know that cancers basically they feed on sugars in your body, and if you're a sugar, or if your sugar intake is very low and you starve it out, you can starve out that particular cell, and those cells begin to die, and your body will generate new blood cells and new cells, and it recuperates, so to speak. So you can cure pretty much anything with the change of lifestyle. But we know that Esau is concocting shit in the laboratory, because I believe that in the game, in the TV series The Last of Us, they made mention of this particular virus. If you watch the pilot episode, when those 3 Edomites was going into the history and how they was going to spread this among humanity, and people was going to turn into zombies. Okay, so I'm going to play another video real quick. We'll play another video, and I'm going to go into some history on this, and we're going to go into a couple of precepts, because we're in those times. Okay, the Most High is getting ready to bring mass judgment to Babylon the Great. And hey, brothers, man, the time is nigh. So, let's continue to stay focused and continue to call on the name of the Most High, man, because like some guys, they feel like the name of the Lord don't matter. Well, we're going to tell you now, and the shit we getting ready to experience as people on this planet Earth, you're going to wish you've known the name of the Most High, because that's the only name through heaven that we may obtain salvation. It's the name of Yahweh Shai. So we're going to hold fast to that. But let's see what this video says here.
Finally called the hotline.
Come on, man.
Hey, I saw this ad on Facebook about a $6,400 subsidy. Is that real?
The CDC is warning about a potentially deadly fungus that's apparently spreading throughout hospitals.
Cases have been reported in at least 30 states, including California. CBS 8's Jasmine Ramirez has details on known cases in San Diego and talked with an infectious disease expert to learn who is most at risk.
Cases of this fungus are climbing at hospitals and nursing homes. The CDC says cases nearly doubled in 2021 and continue to grow.
The CDC says the rise in Candida auris is an urgent threat. The World Health Organization last year ranked it as among the worst fungal threats facing public health. Dr. Monica Gandhi says it can be deadly for people who have weak immune systems.
People getting it through the skin into the catheters that we have, like IV lines, getting it into the bloodstream, and unfortunately then people can get really sick.
She says about 1 in 3 patients who are seriously infected die. Candida auris cases are growing. The CDC reported 756 in 2020. This jumped to more than 1,400 in 2021 and more than 2,300 cases in 2022. It is often drug resistant.
We have to pull out kind of big gun antifungals to use for this. So fundamentally, we need to get on top of cleaning things, using less antibiotics, good infection control practices.
The CDC says California has the second most cases in the nation. In September 2021, 2 patients tested positive in San Diego County at 2 separate healthcare facilities. Health officials recommend screenings to detect the fungus and taking special steps to isolate infected patients.
It is still very rare to cause serious infections. Those are serious infections. And really in immunocompromised people in long-term care facilities, raising the alarm is the right thing to do.
She says healthy people can be infected and have no idea because they don't show any symptoms. Jasmine Ramirez, CBS 8.
Oops, Slocky. I guess this is the beginning of a zombie outbreak, huh? Shit. Esau Edom, man. Well, this is the book of Revelation 6 and 7, Salakia. It says here, when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked and behold a pale horse, and we know pale represents death. Okay, and it says, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed him, and the power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth, man. Okay, so that pale horse represents Esau, Edom as well, just like the red horse, because it says that set on him was death and hell. So this man is nothing but death, man. Okay, these madmen and the scientists and that three-letter word, I say the DCC comics, they're responsible for putting this shit out there, man. Okay, because they so-called contain it and then they experiment and then all of a sudden they put it out there and then people get sick. It's always something that they're doing because they own a patent to these particular pestilence. You know, like find out that this guy, Dr. Fauci, that he was harvesting biolabs since like the early fucking 90s, like the AIDS virus and so forth. That's the goddamn BIO weapon. Okay, find out that he made billions of dollars on this shit. And why is these particular new strains, etc., why are they protected under the Department of Defense or under DARPA? If this is supposed to be a so-called health thing, why is these particular patents and so forth and these particular illnesses that they're conjuring up, why are they under the Department of Defense? Because I thought the Department of Defense deals with weapons and foreign threats and so forth like that. The hell does it got to do with pestilence, you know, and sicknesses? Makes you wonder, don't it? That this man is clearly the devil. It says, and I looked and behold a pale horse, and the name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth, man. So it's getting ready to turn up out here, brothers. This kingdom is on its last leg, and Yahweh Shai is really bringing it down to his knees, because I looked up this. It says the Candida fungus is a genus of yeast and is the most common cause of fungal infections worldwide. So like I said, Tenea varicella, you got athlete's foot, you know, ringworm. These are all particular prototypes of this virus. Okay. It says, in fact, the largest genus is medically imported yeast, and you get yeast in your bread, you know, your cookies and dough. You know, and another thing too, like if you're an athlete, and a lot of times, or if you're sharing showers, or you live in a house of 3 or more people, and I'm just throwing that number out there, you're likely to attract this particular fungus through the foot, athlete's foot or foot fungus, because, you know, the bacteria and the amount of traffic and the sweat and so forth that go through these particular areas, you're able to contract this particular virus or this particular illnesses. So it says fungi. I can't pronounce those. I'm not even going to try to. But it says the genus. It says 1923. Candida vulgaris, 1923. But it says the genus Candida encompasses about 200 species. Many species are harmless commensals or endorsements of hosts, including humans. It says, however, the mosquito barriers are disrupted or the immune system is compromised, they can evade the cause disease known as the opportunistic infection. It says Candida is located on most mucosal surfaces and mainly in the gastrointestinal tract, along with the skin. Oh, shit. And you know that deals with your digestive health. So if you have like a lot of funguses and shit in your body, that can affect your digestive tract. Like if you suffer from like foot fungus and stuff like that, and it's left untreated, it can really cause you to get sick, because those viruses, they spread throughout the bloodstream. It's like a lot of times when people, you know, urinate, you see like these, not urinate, but a lot of times if people do a bowel movement, you see like these parasites and so forth. It comes from these particular viruses, man. Okay. It says along on the skin, but it says the Candida albicans is one of the most commonly isolated species and can cause infections or thrush in humans or other animals. Like they got some which is called thrush. Like if you look at the tip, like a lot of, if you're not really circumcised, and I did the research on if you're not circumcised, a lot of times if you don't clean under the foreskin pretty good, then you can get what they call thrush. It's like a little fungus that hits the skin cells underneath the skin, or if you're having sex with a woman and you're not circumcised, and if you don't clean up periodically, you can get like an outbreak on your rod, so to speak, man. And usually the treatment for that is like just warm soap and water, or you got like this antifungal cream, same thing they use for athlete's foot, because your body carries a certain level of bacteria anyway, and then a lot of times a woman, she can have a yeast infection and she can transport it over to you as well. So this place is really just a whole different beast of wickedness. It says, in winemaking, some species of Candida can potentially spoil wines, but many species are found in gut flora, including C. albicans and the minimally hosts, whereas others live as endospoids and insect hosts. Okay. It says particularly patients with the impaired immune system, immunocompromised, affect over 90,000 people a year in the U.S. Okay. Like I said, it's pretty much common. It's a common thing. Most people have it in their blood or in their body because yeast, like I said, especially those people that live in warm and moist climates, you're likely to catch it, or if you sunbathed a lot and so forth. It's pretty common, but the shit they're talking about is on a whole different level, and it's nothing more but a weapon that they're using to bring in chaos, man. So anyway, yep, it says Candida auris is a species of fungus that grows as a yeast. It is one of the few species of the genus Candida which can cause candidiasis in humans. Often candidiasis is acquired in hospitals by patients with weakened immune systems, which that just don't make sense, because you got people that's not in a hospital that have weak immune systems. So are they exempt because they're not in a fucking hospital? And it says the most common auroras include fever and chills that don't go away after treatment with antibiotics. So basically, there's no cure for this shit. All right, so this is when it gets down to the nitty gritty. Okay, this is like the real shit here. The Zero Hedge. This is a good source. This Natural News, because this right here, this shit here, like the Channel 4 News, Channel 5 News, CBS News, they not gonna tell you anything because this is all fucking script. It's all concocted madness. But this gets down to the gritty because it says the 3-letter word warns of dangerous fungal infection spreading through U.S. at an alarming rate. And we know that Esau is not gonna it's not gonna tell you everything. He's gonna tell you sporadically what this is, but he's gonna make it seem like, oh, it's a big deal, but not a big deal to the time it comes to use preventative measures. Then they want to lock everything down and they want to isolate people. Basically motherfuckers turn into zombies. It says it is a rare fungal disease that is easily spread through contact with contaminated surfaces or from person to person, and can cause severe illness in hospitalized patients and those with weakened immune systems, according to the health officials. So if you have this, or if you share a bathtub with somebody, or you walking on bare feet and somebody touches it, it jumps on the skin, because we know that yeast, they need hosts to survive, and then your body is basically a host for the yeast to survive in. Just like tapeworms, particular funguses, they thrive off warm and moist climates and certain bacteria. Same thing with this. So yeah, it says, but in some rare cases, yeast can enter in the bloodstream of patients and spread throughout the body, causing serious invasive Candida infections, which can affect the blood, heart, brain, eyes, bones, and other part of the body, and can prove fatal. It says data from a limited number of patents show that 30 to 60% of people diagnosed with the fungal disease have died. Shit. It says, however, healthy people typically do not get sick from the fungal disease. But the 3-letter word said it is concerned about the auroras for 3 main reasons. It is often multi-drug resistant. It is hard to identify using standard laboratory methods, and it has rapidly caused outbreaks in health and care settings. So wait a minute, that shows you that this is a weapon, because how could any particular virus or sicknesses go undetected if you have the particular technology and the tools to identify certain threats to your body. Like Esau can do a scan and he can see anything that's going on in your body. So why is this the invisible killer? Because this is a fucking bioweapon, man. It's a weapon. It's controlled. They created it that way. Like we just read in Revelation, the 6th chapter, about the death, okay, about the pale horse. It says it is likely the C-19 pen, you know what, worse than the C-Oris official said. It says, I'm going to read what it says here. And Salaki, I'm kind of stumbling all over the place. But it says also the such and such claims to cling to nursing gowns, gloves, and other personal protective gear under ideal conditions will be changed frequently, but that were reused during the such and such because of supply shortages. It says it can also attach to ventilators and other medical equipment. So basically, they're getting ready to the hospital or the health sectors are getting ready to be pretty much heavily scrutinized. So hey, they can begin to shut down clinics and so forth like that if they can't get a control on this thing, which would be justifying of shutting down the healthcare systems and restarting everything up under one particular medical registry. You see how Esau works? See, when you're dealing with him, you got to really think outside the box because he's throwing shit at you from all angles, you know. But it says, additionally, individuals who have been hospitalized in healthcare facilities for long periods of time, especially those who have breathing tubes, feeding tubes, and central venous catheters going into their bodies, appear to be at the highest risk of contracting the URIs. So it's best to stay out the hospitals, man. Don't go if you don't need to. It says other risk factors are generally similar to risk factors for other types of candida infections, including recent surgery, diabetes, and the recent use of antibiotics or antifungal medications initial shows. It says the infections of the URIs have also referred to as C. orisis that have been found in patients of all ages, from preterm infants to elderly, health officials say. It says, according to the data, the drug-resistant fungus, which was first detected in the United States in 2016, has been spreading at an alarming rate, now they're speaking about it though, among hospitalized patients in recent years, with clinical cases of the fungus nearly doubling in 2021, rising into 2022. It says there were at least 2,377 confirmed clinical cases of Candida auris in the United States in 2022, according to the three-letter word statistics, up from 1,400 cases in 2021 and 757 cases in 2020. It says data showed that this fungal disease is now present in more than half of the U.S. states. Separate data from the three-letter word published in the Annals of Internal Medicine on March 20th also found that screening cases in which the fungus is detected but it's not causing infection tripled to 2020 to 2021. It says it's concerned that with the tripling in 2021, the number of cases were resistant to antifungal drugs that are typically the first line of treatment for this URs. Okay, like they got something right now, it's called like H. pylori that's discovered here in Kansas City. They stated that anybody south of the river of Kansas City, Missouri, has probably come up positive for H. pylori. It's basically like a fungus, or it's like a parasite that's in your stool. Okay, so basically, you having the digestive issues and stuff like that. They want to test your stools and see if you have that particular virus or that particular parasite in your stool, because they believe it's coming from the water or something like that in the air or something that they're putting out, because we know that with the wastewater treatment facilities here in Kansas City, they've had a couple of mishaps last year, to the point they was telling people that was south of the river not to drink the water for a couple of days. So yeah, it's getting ready to go down out here. All right, and you know what, man? Hey, Yahweh Shai, he's warned us. So I got a couple of precepts here. I typed in pestilence. So I'm just read the precepts and just get the main point. Because we know that the book of Exodus deals with the plagues of Egypt, okay, all the way into the time that Pharaoh was to let us go, and the Most High brought the plagues upon Egypt, pretty much dismantling the economy. So it says, and they said, go to the Hebrews. It says, Salakia, it says, and they said, the God of the Hebrews have met with us. Let us go, we pray thee, 3 days' journey into the desert, and sacrifice unto Yahweh our power, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with a sword. Now, when you look up pestilence, it's basically a disease. And, I mean, they're discovering new diseases day by day. Every fucking hour, they're discovering something new because they're creating the shit. but it's ultimately Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai that's behind it. Okay, Exodus 9:15. For now I will stretch out my hand that I may smite thee and thy people with pestilence, and thou should be cut off from the earth. So, hey, The Last of Us, I believe they did make mention of this particular illness, but let me double check that real quick. The Last of Us. Let's see. Because that was actually a real virus, believe it or not. So it says, it said it is not a virus that turned people into brainless amatons, but a kind of fungus called cordyceps. Okay, cordyceps. It says the fungus takes over their minds and bodies and makes them want to spread the fungus to the unaffected. It says this fungus is real. Wow. So, cordyceps. Let's look in here a little bit. Because remember the CDC, oh no, shit, I want to say that word, but you remember they was bringing out about how the zombie apocalypse, how they was making jokes on the website, allegedly jokes. You know, you got what they called, basically they was making a joke out of a serious matter, so to speak. They put it out there as to mess with people's minds, but this whole concept of zombie outbreaks have been coming back up recently. Okay. So it says the zombies, however, are truly inspired. It says more specifically, they are inspired by nature, by real zombies that live on the earth. It says the show, which premiered last Sunday, is not a virus that turns people into brainless automatons, but a kind of fungus called cordyceps. All right. And we can look up cordyceps as well, because it says the fungus is real. In tropical, subtropical, even temperate forests around the world, there are many species of fungus, and against this cordyceps and Ophiocordyceps. It says these fungus were just formerly called just cordyceps that affect insects like ants and other invertebrates. It says, and they do essentially turn them into zombies. It says the fungi take over their mind and bodies, causing them to behave in such a way and to spread spores to other kinds. So that's actually a real, yep, it's actually a real particular pestilence. And you can look it up. Cordyceps. Yep, see? And they showed that on the first episode of The Old Woman. They showed that shit coming out of her mouth. And it creates what they call spores. It's a fungus. So, yeah, man. You know, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is making a stand in the earth. All right. Let's go to, just jump around a little bit. Like I said, I just typed in a couple of precepts here. And, you know, we're just going to follow the spirit. Let's go. Jeremiah 14 is good. Yep, it says, and when they fast, I will not hear their cry. And when they offer burnt offerings and oblation, which oblation is a drink offering, it says, I will not accept them, but I will consume them by the sword and by famine and by the pestilence. Okay. It says, and I will smite the inhabitants of this city, both men and beasts, and they should die of a great pestilence, man. So all throughout the scriptures, the Most High talked about pestilence. Jeremiah 24:10, it says, I will send a sword and the famine and pestilence among them till they be consumed from off the land that I give unto them and their fathers. Going to you wicked ass Jakes, man. The prophets that have been before, Jeremiah 28:8. It says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. So pestilence is very, very known in the scriptures. Jeremiah 29:17, thus says the Lord of hosts, behold, I will send upon them the sword, the famine, and the pestilence, and will make them like vile figs that cannot be eaten. They are so evil. Okay. And I will persecute them with the sword and with famine and with the pestilence, and will deliver them to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth, to be a curse and a astonishment and a hissing and a reproach among all nations which I've driven them, going into our captivity. And you get the point. You know, it continues to go into pestilence and famines and so forth. Because it reads here, Ezekiel, a third part of thee should die with the pestilence, and with famine they should be consumed in the midst of thee, and the third part shall fall by the sword round about thee, and I will scatter a third part into all the wind, and I will draw out the sword after them. And we know that this sword is coming in the form of World War III, martial law, okay, more diseases. So I will send upon you famine and evil beasts, and they shall bereave thee, and the pestilence and blood shall pass through thee, and I will bring the sword upon thee. I, the Lord, have spoken it. All right, so, yep, here we go, man. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is bringing a pestilence. Yahweh Shai, Matthews 24:7, for nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. 2 Esdras 15:49, it says, I will send upon thee widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence to waste thy houses with destruction and death, man. So yeah, brothers, man, it's looking real. So whatever Esau decides to do, it's all in the hands of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. But anyway, with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. And with that, Shalom and a Baba Ball.